Hello, I'm LJ Heydorn, author of the series Age of the Fallen. The first book in the series will be Scions of the Fallen, currently a work in progress. There are a few, or actually two, um, short pieces that I've written leading up to the series. And the first one is The Ride of the Corpse Harvesters, set in a fantasy world, epic high fantasy. The second one is The Portal, set in a modern day Earth fantasy setting as well. Now, both of these stories are related to the series, but I look at them as a complete 180 from one another. Uh, the series will be based on the concept of what would you do? How would things interact with a more realistic approach to the world? And I hope I end up nailing it on these stories that I produce. So, um, I've always played in years and years of role playing, found that many players have always wondered, what would it be like if I went and role play or went into the role play world? What would I do? How would I survive? Could I survive? What would my stats be? I think that's, and so many gamers have thought about that. And I seek to write about that experience, not as a what would I do, but from a perspective of what do the characters of my novels do coming from our world to a fantasy world in which they're going to be faced with the hard new reality of the world they live in. And when you get to those fantasy worlds, what effect does that have? Um, so many times you have knowledge of things far beyond their technology level. Not to say that you know how to produce those things, but you have these ideas. And how does that affect people? What effect will that have? Throughout time on Earth, we've had different revolutions of ideas come about as people progress. We've had feudalism to, creating republics, and all that has had a tremendous effect on everybody throughout the ages. And, we still have a variety and mixture of different types of governments out there, dictatorships, democracies, socialist countries, communist countries. So we still have a variety of mixtures. And I'm going to take these characters and see what happens as they go through the journey in a fantasy world. And what kind of psychological impact does that have? It's easy to talk about what you would do in a horror movie or what you would do in a fantasy movie. But what would you really do based on those situations? Could you cut it? Maybe you won't. And it's not to say that is exactly what you would do or I would do. But the characters I introduce into this world, what would they do? And I hope people can relate to them. And I hope people like them or hate them. Any sort of emotional, other than any sort of emotional impact, other than this is stupid. I'm hoping that people will enjoy the story as it progresses, and as the world evolves with new thoughts and processes, new technologies that may come out of this. New fighting tactics, perhaps, who knows? I hope that you will enjoy the world as I tell it and it unfolds. Um, Hopefully, maybe tears will be shed, laughs will be had, and in the end, I hope you say, you know what, I didn't waste my money reading this. Maybe you did. I hope not, though. So, as a writer, my goal is to write my stories that are bounced around this head, this enormous big head. Um, Bald, of course, as you can see. That's from years and years of kids uh, growing up and make me pull out all the hair I had left on my head. But no, not really. But anyways, a little bit about myself. I have been role playing since the age of 9. That doesn't mean anything other than I've been a role player for a while. I haven't been good, haven't been bad. Man, I hope I've been a good role player. I know I've enjoyed the years of role playing all sorts of games, any genre of games. Star Frontiers, Dungeons and Dragons, Rifts, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Traveler, Call of Cthulhu. I mean, the list goes on and on. Board games, etc. One of the worlds I've enjoyed the most is Dungeons and Dragons. I spent so much time role playing in those worlds, role playing with my friends who've had such a great impact in my worlds as well, just from experiences, different funny scenes occasionally, different characters. I've also, during that time, a lot of that time, I've also run campaigns, and I've got to be lucky enough to entertain players. Now I'm hoping that the wide diversity of my games that went from anywhere from first level up to God level. And actually there was God levels in D&D for those who are familiar enough with that. Basic D&D had the Immortals box set and the Rules Encyclopedia that covered those things. I'm hoping that the diversity of the players and the ones who challenge me the most will help me to come out with what would people really do in these worlds and situations. Because I tell you what, the people I've been lucky enough to roleplay with throughout the years and going convention hopping have really melded me to who I am, as far as thinking outside the box. And I think I was always the worst bane a DM could ever have, because I very rarely thought inside the box. And if I was thinking inside the box, the DM knows something is up and that something outside the box is about to come their way. But I was the type of guy who would push to, what kind of house did you have? What's in your house? What's in your backpack? What things are you carrying? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? What's your horse's name? Things like that. What does your weapon look like? What does your armor look like? I try to push people to be creative and push people to be more than people that rolled dice. It became the classic role player of rolling dice. I push people to become role players, jumping into their character, developing that character, and however silly or however serious the character was, I wanted that to come out. And I'm hoping that my stories will present that to you. Different facets, different personalities, different ones you may have played before, and said, man, I was that. That was cool. Holy cow! Was he sitting at my table? Did he run me, or did I run him? I don't know. Or I got somebody who sits at my table who's just like that, or that's what I would have done. So I'm hoping all that comes out. But this will be a very long series. I had originally planned for a certain number of books, and then I decided to chop the books into several pieces to make them shorter and smaller reads. Now, I am a novice writer, and I hope that I will be entertaining. I'm doing my best to be as professional as possible. So I know I'm going to make mistakes. So if you're looking for mistakes to be made, I'm your man. Well, thank you very much for this podcast, or webcast. This is my first one, and I hope to do many more. And I'll talk to you later. Thank you.